Okay, let's call to order the Village of Riverside Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, regular meeting of Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hennigan?
Here.
Commissioner Marhoul? Here. Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Pelletier?
Here.
And Commissioner Matthews is absent. And then Chairperson Mateo.
I am here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting and public hearing minutes of May 27th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Any edits, any comments, any changes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you. I don't see Trustee Pollock. Any update from the village board?
Yes, the village board approved the fence variance and the plan unit development ordinance at their last meeting. For the plan unit development ordinance, they did add Preservation Commission review to the ordinance so that a plan unit development would have to go through them, similar to a text amendment for comment as to its impact on the landmark designation and general plan of Riverside. So that was a slight modification to the ordinance. And then they also approved the gravel driveway text amendment. Ultimately, they ended up grandfathering the gravel driveways so they can remain, they can be maintained, and they will not be required to be replaced at the time of sale as had been initially recommended by the commission. So we'll be sending out letters to all the gravel driveway owners saying that you can keep your gravel driveway, but please maintain it. And if it's not, please do. So that is, I think, all of our updates.
So I just had a question for the gravel driveways. They can be maintained for 50 years if necessary,
Yes.
as long as they're maintained? Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Okay, on to new business, a preliminary discussion of proposed Riverside Swim Club redevelopment at 100 Blooming Bank and related zoning issues. Director Abt.
We have representatives from the team for the swim club here that are looking at their redevelopment project. So I think they're ready to kind of take you through what they're looking at doing.
Thank you for reminding me. Commissioner Marhoul is going to recuse himself because he's on the board of directors of the swim club. So at 7:08. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, commissioners. My name is Katie Vahey. I'm a board member on Riverside Swim Club. I'm just going to be speaking to you for 2 minutes and then handing it over to the architects and the people who are in the know about the specifics. I know that you are a committee that specifically goes to zoning and planning, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just wanted to let you know that we appreciate your time, and to let you know also that RSC, Riverside Swim Club, has been a part of this community for 60 years, 6 decades of families spending time there, children learning to swim, and it is because of previous allowances and variances by this body that we were able to exist to begin with. But we find ourselves after 6 decades with an asset that no longer can continue. Unlike a building, we can't continue to upgrade the pool in order to keep it a functioning working space. And so we're here to ask you, moving forward, for permission to have hardship so we can rebuild that and continue it in the community. We are an unusual Riverside phenomenon because we are in a residential area, and of course we're a business outside of the business district, but further than that, we cannot exist under other regulations without special permission from the Riverside Board. Specifically, we cannot continue to be meeting current safety standards as the Illinois Department of Public Health mandates. We cannot continue to allow children and adults with disabilities to use our new facility unless we meet ADA standards. And with all of those goals in mind, to continue to be a part of this community and to give back to the community, we're here today to ask you to consider that and grant us those hardships so we can move forward as a part of Riverside and as something that is open to all in the community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Johnson. I'm from Leggett Architects. This is Grant Lay and Tom Kikta, also from Leggett Architects. Also in attendance, we have Peter Lutz from Helios Construction and Michael Morales from Mackey Consultants. And that forms the development team alongside Riverside as the owner. Thank you very much for agreeing to hear our presentation today. The packets that you're being handed, one of those is a impact statement from the owner. This document is a letter from the Riverside Board indicating some of their narrative that went into why this project is being undertaken, and then some of the issues that went into the evaluation of their existing facility and why they're undertaking it. The other packet is a printout of the boards that we brought with us. Grant, could you put the site plan up on the board, please? Thank you. Some of the factors that went into this project are the deterioration of the existing facility. It is no longer up to code in many ways, and it is at the end of its life. We are basically replacing the existing building with a new pool house.
We're really going to need you to speak up, please, because we got noise everywhere.
Sorry. We are basically replacing the existing pool house in kind with a more up-to-date, up-to-code structure designed to a residential aesthetic, as you can see in this rendering here and in your packet. The existing two pools are being replaced with one kind of deep diving pool and swim lane pool, and another zero-depth splash pool. Can you get the first floor plan, please? First floor plan. The interior of the facility will house a men's and women's locker rooms with showers and toilet rooms. There will also be a snack bar for the warming and dispersion of food, and then a great community room that looks out over the pool, along with a manager's office, reception room, and lifeguard room. Some of the zoning variances we're seeking are max impervious surface area, the use group, and then side, rear, and street setbacks. The zoning, the site plan. Yep. As you can see, it's a very oddly shaped site. And we also have an exhibit in the packet that indicates what the existing zoning variances are and how the existing facility is non-conforming to the zoning requirements. So with the rear yard, you can see that in this diagram. The side yard and both the side yards were in compliance, and with the overall height and massing, we're also in compliance with that zoning requirement. If you would turn to page 3 of the packet, there's a zoning matrix that indicates a former zoning of R4 with a current zoning of R1A. The previous facility had been rezoned, and you can see that under both zonings, we would require variance. And then the proposed change is what is the difference between what would be required and what we're proposing in this design. Are there any questions?
I guess I
sure
have
we'll
a quick question.
questions. Go ahead.
Can I just, I didn't see on here what the actual setback from the building to that front property line is. Do you know offhand what that is?
You mean the existing?
No, what you're proposing, how far is the actual footprint of the building from that street property line?
So,
Because I don't think it's 1 foot 6 inches, as you say in your,
yeah,
table.
that's,
So I don't know if that was supposed to be 16 feet or,
it would be just over 28 feet to the building.
okay.
Yeah, I believe that measurement was taken to the fence as opposed to the building.
So it's going to have about the same setback as the current building does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see on,
It looked like it was the same, but when I saw the 1 foot 6 inch, I was a little confused.
yeah, you can see on PZ1 versus PZ2 how the existing building and a new building overlap.
Okay.
Thank you. My colleague just reminded me that that setback is to the deck. There's a kind of social porch, a social deck that is visible in the rendering on the front page, and that is not allowed under the current zoning, but would greatly increase the kind of social atmosphere and the visibility of the facility. And it's greatly desired by the owner to have that as an amenity for their membership. So that's why that distance is there.
Okay. And what is the proposed height of the fence?
8 feet?
8 feet? And that's all the way around? Or would that just be,
So there's an 8-foot fence in the front that's more of an architectural fence, and then a kind of chain link fence around the back where the railroad is. And I believe that one's higher. I think that's either 10 or 12.
so but for this project, it would just be 8 feet all around? Or would we be keeping the existing fence on the back?
No, we'll be replacing the fence, but the new fence is going to be higher. It'll be 10 feet in the back.
Okay.
So 10 feet in the back, 8 feet in the front. So while you're all digesting that, I'm going to introduce again Michael Morales from Mackey Consultants. He's our civil engineer, and he's going to be able to talk about the stormwater management strategies in general.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us here. Again, my name is Michael Morales, and I'm with Mackey Consultants, the civil consultants for this project. As Lauren alluded to earlier, this is for the Riverside Swim Club and the proposed for the removal and replacement of existing pools in buildings. The total area for this property is about 1.96 acres, and the total proposed disturbed area for this property is about 1.26 acres. There's going to be anticipated new utilities for this facility. So we have, if you could take a look over at the board, or if you have it in your handout, new water service and new sanitary to service the building. And this is under MWRD GC jurisdiction, so we will follow their watershed management ordinance and the required release rates for stormwater design. So as you could probably see In the board over here, there's 2 underground detention vaults, one by the flagpole area and one underneath the basketball court, and both outlet to a common outlet control structure right here. Will then release to the city's storm sewers. The total combined detention for both of these is 0.59 acre feet. And since we are under MWRD jurisdiction, we will be providing volume control also, with an anticipated volume control storage of 0.14 acre feet. Now, the allowable release rate for MWRD, in this case, for this part of the jurisdiction, is about 0.2 CFS per acre, which means for this development area, for the total disturbed area, we're looking at about an allowable release rate of about 0.25 CFS. So that's what I have for the civil aspect. Was there any questions?
Is there currently any on-site detention?
There's not going to be any outside detention, no.
I mean, currently, right now, is there any on-site?
Any on-site detention? Not from what I see in the previous plans, no.
Okay, thank you.
And the surface on the northeast corner, that's going to flow toward the inside of the property? Right above the storm trap one?
This one right here? Mm-hmm. Yes, so within the actual pool area, there are some proposed area drains that are going to be collecting this stormwater runoff and outletting or going into the storm trap system.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so if I'm looking at your table, the biggest delta here between existing and new is the impervious surface, and this is always going to be a sticking point here of 50% of lot area versus what you're proposing, which is 79% impervious surface of the lot area. Has any thought been given to any more pervious surfaces, or is there any possibility?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's really the function of the pool deck as a surface. It really doesn't work well with perviousness. You have kind of safety issues with kind of cracks or maintenance issues with little kids running around and kind of getting their toes stuck in gaps between pavers or things like that. So we'd considered it, but there were a lot of other factors that led to us going a different direction.
Can you explain what's the difference between what's there now and the increase of 24,000 square feet, it looks like? In other words, let me reframe the question. Where's the additional 24,000 square feet of paving come in than what's existing on site?
You're looking at the stormwater calc page?
I'm looking at your variance table for maximum impervious surface.
We don't have anything listed for the existing.
Okay.
I mean, we can get that in there, but the site as is, it's where we have the pool deck right now, it is impervious surface.
Okay.
And we're not touching the parking lot, so we're basically replacing in kind.
I see. Okay.
So in your variance table, it says that the proposed impervious is 78.4%.
Yeah.
And it says the proposed change is also 78.4%. So
Yeah, that.
are you
that's
saying, okay,
incorrect.
so there's no change in impervious surface, is that accurate?
I would have to double check that and get back to you before our formal submission.
Okay.
I do know that there's very little change between the existing and the proposed. It might be a couple hundred square feet maximum, but I'll get that number and get back to you.
As long as we're discussing impervious surface. So the white space, let's say it's PZ1 at the bottom, it's sort of like a footprint of the project, and there's white space. Is that the pervious surface, and what would that, have you contemplated what type of pervious surface that would be? Is it grass, like there isn't?
This year?
Well, so between the parking lot and the building, there's a lot of white space.
That's grass.
That will be grass?
Yep.
Okay. And then further down from the parking lot, that will also be in that pointy area, that will be grass?
So this area.
Like the tip of the property to the west? Yes, I think so. But further, isn't the property is not pointed? It has a solid line to the west?
Take a look over at your PZ1 over here.
Oh, yeah, he's got it right there. See where the red lines come out?
Yeah, this is all, I'll have to double check about this, I don't know that much about this area there.
Okay,
The majority of this apartment line.
okay, all right. So I think I would be interested, even if the pool deck can't have pervious concrete or something like that, which I think pervious concrete exists, it would be nice to have those types of surfaces perhaps in the deck where people walk, wherever that is, the cafe area, all that area, the walkways, and then maybe some kind of pervious asphalt or something for the parking lot, if you guys would think of that. Or else have some kind of other retention there.
Okay.
Was there any consideration of reducing the size of the parking lot?
Our budget didn't allow it. That's kind of simple economics of the problem we were given.
Yeah, but we have to think of standards to allow variations to be recommended for approval by the board, and cost is not one of the standards that we would consider. In terms of hardships or practical difficulties. And it looks like you have more than enough parking spaces that are required, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Parking lot's often full on certain days of the year.
Yeah, on race days, they're definitely parking on Blooming Bank.
Hmm?
On race days, they definitely park on Blooming Bank. Director App, can you refresh my memory? Is Ames using some kind of pervious surface in their play area?
Yes.
At the last iteration?
So they were using like a permeable wood chip and, kind of gravel under drain area in the one part of the playground. And then in another part of the playground, they were using, I believe they went with a permeable concrete.
Is that
And then the
something?
walkway leading up to that area was permeable pavers.
It sounds like the commission is interested in seeing some attempt being made to reduce that 78.4%.
Okay.
Am I speaking out of turn?
Would pervious concrete still count as lot coverage, though?
No.
Count as what?
As lot coverage? Oh, so it's treated as though it's open space? Okay.
If that would work over the storm trap.
Sure. We can look at that.
Oh, that is right. They used the permeable concrete where it was the sport court area. so their basketball court areas where they use the permeable concrete on the Ames project.
Now, one thing that you're doing, though, is you're doing the underground detention to store the water, so maybe you can speak to that, of the benefit that you get from storing that instead of having the impervious pavement.
Yeah, that's, I believe, where our trade-off was instead of trying to deal with some of the issues with infiltration and some of the soils on site, we decided to create these large underground vaults to kind of restrict the water from entering the storm system right away. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that is true.
And so that can be considered a trade-off for impervious surfacing.
Right.
Okay.
Both efforts could be made.
What's that?
We have asked other projects to consider both efforts.
For sure, yes.
And the storm trap is really, it's required detention by the MWRD. So that's a kind of a minimum requirement to meet MWRD standards. Right.
Can you explain for the side yard setback and the rear yard, what the difference is between what exists there now and what you're proposing? Because I don't quite see where the extra feet, I mean, given the footprint of the project now and the footprint of what you're proposing, I don't see the differences. If you could point that out, those out.
Yeah. So the existing side yard requirement, so looking at Exhibit PZ2, or the existing side yard is 31 feet, and the proposed is 25. So it's a delta of, so this proposed change, that should be 6 feet
Right,
difference.
so where is it measuring from? Where is your side yard setback? Like, can you point it to me on the, and what are you measuring from?
So that's this side yard here,
Okay,
and that's a function of the location of the deck. So the
Okay.
deck kind of comes out to hit that corner. So if we were using the existing side yard number, that was the deck would be in violation of that area.
so it's between the building and the public sidewalk, basically? Is that what you're calling the side yard? Or,
So just the offset for this from the property line,
uh-huh,
where it comes to meet the deck, this corner is controlling that number.
okay. So the side yard, maybe, Sonia, maybe you can help me, I don't understand. The side yard runs along Blooming Bank Road?
No.
Okay, I misunderstand, I don't see where the side yard,
When I'm looking at this, I don't see the building encroaching into the side yard. As I'm looking at this, I don't see the building encroaching into the side yard.
okay, because when I was thinking side yard, I was thinking it was the yard between, what is that, the east side of the property and the public property. That's what I was thinking of as the side yard.
So they do technically have two side yards, it's just they're kind of like a weird little trapezoid. So this guy over here has a side yard, and this guy over here has a side yard.
Right.
This up here is the rear yard, and then Blooming Bank
Right.
down here is the street yard. So,
So the side yard on
Where
one
this-
side is
where
bordered
this,
by green space, by parkland.
Right.
And on the other side, it's by the municipal lot.
right,
Right. So it's as a residential lot, it's all by itself. Right?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm just confused as to where the measurement would start for each of those, because
So there's a,
if we're talking about the swim club building, or the accessory building, then that seems like it's a lot, more than 31 feet or 28 feet on either side.
So it doesn't appear to me that the building itself encroaches into the required side yard,
Okay.
based on where the lot lines go. If you move them up, where that intersection happens, it's not encroaching into that side yard area that I can tell.
Right, and again, the building doesn't, but the deck does. Because we're not allowed to put a deck in a setback area.
You're not allowed to put it in a street yard. It can go
Street
in a
yard.
side yard, provided
Oh.
it's a 5-foot setback.
Okay,
So the deck is in the street yard?
it is, yeah.
And the material is it's a wood deck, or it's a patio, or what is
It's
it?
it's a faux wood composite. IDPH won't allow us to put wood there because it'll splinter and degrade. But
Okay.
it's like a Trex, very hardy, durable, wood-like composite. It's like a recycled plastic, kind of.
Okay. And then for the rear yard, that's the yard that backs up to the railroad tracks? So the
Yeah.
building is just like 6 feet or something farther back than the existing building, is that it? Or what's the difference?
Yeah.
Or no, not 6 feet, according
It's
to this,
Greater
26
than that.
feet. 26 feet.
Yeah, we're 9 feet away from that setback, or from that property line.
But again, I'm not clear, if you look at PZ1 and PZ2, the place where the building is compared to the railroad track seems like it's basically the same footprint, is that?
So the proposed change should really be proposed variance, and we have to revise some of these numbers. And we can also clarify what the difference is from the existing condition. We were indicating change from the required zoning setback.
So when it says existing 35 feet, you meant that's like required by the regulations, not existing condition? Okay,
Yes.
okay, I understand that.
Yeah, as you can see, in the rear yard, the existing building butts right up to the property line, like it's on top of it. And we're just taking it back 9 feet from where it is right now.
Okay.
I think when you develop the materials for your variation application, I think it would be very helpful to, in addition to correcting the numbers in the table, making sure we've got information for what the existing conditions are. We want to know what that maximum, what the current building coverage, impervious surface, and setbacks are. And then, as we've been discussing, make sure that we list these setbacks for the main structure separately from any accessory structures, the deck, and anything else that might be out there, to really help us understand what we're looking at where.
Yep.
And I think also a list of all the building materials you're going to be using.
Can you speak louder, please?
Sorry. I think I would appreciate a list of all the building materials or surface materials that you're going to be using,
Yep.
you know, for the building itself, for the outbuilding, and everything else.
Yep.
Thank
We
you.
can provide that. We did list those on our elevations, but they might be a little bit hard to read.
Okay. Yeah. Probably for me.
The majority of the building is like a fiber cement residential siding with a asphalt shingle roof, black metal trim and gutters, and then a painted wood trellis.
It's fiber cement like hardy board, is that what
Yeah.
that is? Okay.
It looks like you guys are missing sheet A203, which has your accessory building elevations to it.
Yeah, we can get those in there in the next packet.
So the parking lot is the same parking lot that exists now? You're not touching the parking lot, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Maybe.
One of the things you had asked about.
Can you go to the podium, please?
Oh, what's that?
Can you go to the podium, please, for the recording? Thank you.
Sure. I'm Tom Kickler with Leggett Architects. You talked a little bit about, or asked some questions about some of the materials. One of the things, going back to some of the impervious, that deck will allow water to flow through.
Okay.
Mike, I don't know if you want to add in that.
Yeah, so just wanted to bring up that with the storm trap system, it does allow for infiltration. So I don't know if you can, I'll repeat. So with the storm trap system, it does allow for infiltration. So when water is going into the storm trap detention and volume control system, the materials at the bottom do allow for water to infiltrate. So that's one item that's going to be for both the flagpole area and within the pervious area of the basketball court. The other item here that I just kind of wanted to bring up was that the deck area, while it's wood, underneath is actually, I like to say, just soil but it does gravel, but it does allow for additional infiltration.
Thank you. Director Epp, have you had a chance to look at these setback estimates, or have you not had enough time yet?
I did send them what the required setbacks were, looking at the Plata survey, so that they had that information to be able to provide what size variance they would need for what they're doing. So, their current setback for the street yard is 28 feet, and it looks like that will remain the same. Their required rear yard is 35 feet, 35.75 feet, and their required side yard is just under 31 feet, 30.96, based on the width of the lot. So they are going to require that rear yard variance, and they will require some variances for encroachments into that street yard for accessory structures, but not for the principal structure. I don't know what the existing coverage is as far as impervious surface, but it does look like they're pretty closely matching what's currently covered. So it's, it might be a small decrease, it might be a small increase, but it is generally about the same.
So regarding the deck that you have, that's in the street yard. We're agreed on that, right?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Director Epp, yeah. The deck that they're proposing would be in the street yard. Is that
It would
correct?
be in the required street yard, yes.
So I just wanted to point out that under our regulations, if it was a patio, it would be an allowed encroachment. Whereas a deck is something you have to get a variance for.
That's correct.
Do you agree with that?
Patios are allowed to encroach into a street yard.
So
That's
patios
correct.
and terraces, whatever those are allowed encroachments in street yards. So I don't know if the swim club wants to consider that, or even what this commission or the village board would be interested in, if it makes a difference. But it's one variance you wouldn't have to be requesting.
Yeah, the only thing that makes this a deck as opposed to a patio is, one, the seat wall around it. And you can see that on the cover. And that's mainly to protect the kind of pool area from the kind of food area. There's a lot of concern about people getting food at the snack bar inside, bringing it out, and then kind of bringing it onto the pool deck,
Yeah.
which is a big kind of health concern. And then there's the kind of raised aspect of it. The interior first floor of the building is at plus 18 inches, and the level of the deck matches that. And so we need to ramp down and have steps down to the pool deck. And again, that's a food control, crowd control mechanism.
Okay.
With a patio that didn't have any of those features, there's just too much concern of food and drink migrating from the deck area to the pool area. But that's the only difference between this and a patio.
Could fencing be used to address that issue of separation? I've seen that done at other pools.
It could be. We were going for a little bit more of a refined take on it, but yep.
Are those health requirements that you're trying to meet, or is it a health requirement?
Yeah, it's an IDPH requirement.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, it looks as if there's almost a second floor on the building. Is there or isn't there?
There's no second floor. It's single story, it's just a tall space.
Okay, so is that space going to be used for anything, or it's just decorative, it's just aesthetic on the inside?
You mean the upper?
The
height?
peaked roof?
It's open all the way up.
Okay,
It's just a tall space like this.
okay. And then a flat roof on the other part?
Yeah. Yeah, if you go to A101, there's a large space in the middle that we're calling the great room. And it's just a tall, large gathering space. You can have tables, you can hold events there, things like that.
So even though everything is getting demolished, there's no way you could rebuild this facility and stay within the setbacks, right?
There's
A useful facility.
Yeah, there's no way to build the facility in a way that serves the needs of the membership, in a way that that maintains the setbacks.
Other thoughts, questions?
What's the height of the proposed surrounding fence?
So it's 8 feet in the front, and that's more like an architectural fence, and then it's 10 feet in the rear by the railroad.
And how does that compare with the existing?
I believe the existing fence, it's tall. It's probably 10 or 12 feet.
Okay.
Will there be any landscape improvements associated with this?
We're still working that out. They'll be minor, to be honest, but we can have an update ready for the formal submission.
That could be a way to provide some additional stormwater and water quality benefits.
It's,
However minor.
yeah.
And it looks like you've got gutters on your pitched roofs. Are those daylighting to downspouts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So daylights runs off onto the surface, it's not being brought down below grade, correct?
No, the downspouts direct to the storm sewer.
Okay, I see.
So it's captured in the storm trap.
Good.
Will Santa still be on the diving board? That's the most important question. No, no, no. What's your timeline, hopeful timeline?
So
To come
we-
to us for a public hearing?
I'm sorry?
To come to us for a public hearing?
We are ready to come to the next public hearing.
So you've already started working on the application and going through the standards and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you think of anything else? you have questions for us?
No, I think we got all our questions answered. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, we have no old business. Do you have any information for us, Director Rapp?
Let's see, the only update I have is that they have selected consultants for our zoning ordinance update, RTA has. So they are finalizing the contract, and then they will be reaching out to us to get started on that process. So hopefully, by the end of the summer, we'll be having kickoff meetings and getting things started with that. So excited to get that started.
Have they shared the name of the consultant?
It is Savoy Consulting, along with, I forget what the other firm is. Egget and Ox and Egget, or Ox and Egret and Ox, that's what it is, sorry.
Thank you.
Awesome. So our next meeting is July 22nd. I don't know if anybody's traveling, but hopefully we will have a quorum if we're having the meeting. Anything else?
Oh, I did have one other update. So the village board has asked staff to move forward with a tower and antenna at the Public Works facility for our communications between Public Works and the village offices, as well as to facilitate a new water meter system in the future to be able to do a simultaneous read of the entire village. So we are working towards getting that to come before you for a public hearing. It may be next month. That's what I'm trying to get it done for. If not, it'll be the following month, depending if we can get everything together this week. So
Where will it be? I didn't hear.
at the DPW facility over on the other side of the river.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Wash your